Welcome to another episode, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, episode 265. Might have wrote it wrong in the description. My apologies for that. Oh, no, I got it right. Episode 265. I am your host, Michael. Joining me this week, Gail from Communities Digital News, Daniel from the Inscriber. What's going on, lady and gent?
Good evening.
Indeed. I'm just going to give a bit of a disclaimer beforehand that there will be no show next week. I'm taking vacation. So tonight we're going to cover not only this past weekend's fights, but we're going to, in the preview segment, since there's nothing really happening this coming weekend, we're going to skip to the weekend of the 14th and preview some fights there. And then once we come back in a couple of weeks, we'll just do the recap of the fights from the weekend of the 14th. So, with that being said, this is episode 265 of Pound for Pound Box Report. I'm your host, Michael. Pound for Pound Box Report, live YouTube show, podcast, and blog discussing all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns the sweet science, we will talk about it. If you want to find out all information regarding Pound for Pound Box Report, blog page is the place to go to, p4pboxreport.wordpress.com. That's the link. Check the top right of the blog page. We'll find links to where to find us all over social media, where to find us on platforms that carry RSS feed, as well as the donation links. I want to thank Gus for the dono, pretty significant dono, might I add. I'm not going to say the amount, but if you want to donate to Pound for Pound Box Report, I don't care if it's $1, $5, $10, or if you got a little bit of loose change, you can spot Pound for Pound Box Report more. Uh, Nothing is free, including the production. Me and a PayPal link also in the same general area as all other information regarding Pound for Pound Box Report. Let's get things started by recapping what happened this weekend. Um, Significant amount of boxing happening this weekend. Let's start over in the UK with Vasiliy Lomachenko. To many, he's the best pound for pound fighter in the world. He WBA, WBO champion. Fought Luke Campbell for also the WBC. Give Loma scrap a competitive bout, and it was that case early on. I say the first quarter of the fight, but over time, Campbell, Loma got hurt. I believe it was in round 7, but he seemed to get mad once he got hurt and went out on a the body assault. Was pretty vicious. Hurt Campbell to the body, scored a knockdown, I want to say, in the 11th round. One going away. I'll go to you, Gail, because we are pressed for time this evening. I may split these fights up. Uh, a reaction to what you saw from Loma? Were you surprised that Campbell was able to go the distance? Surprised that Campbell was able to hurt Loma? Your thoughts?
No to both questions. Luke Campbell was a worthy opponent with a good resume. This version of Luke Campbell that we saw Saturday, I believe, would have beaten Jorge Linares had he come out to play. That shows me that Luke's been learning along the way and improving. And good for him. He'll only continue to improve after his experience fighting Lomachenko. He said himself after the fight, I gave it my best. He was just too good. That's the bottom line. Lomachenko's skills are just too good. He's not always going to have those flashy, no Moschenko wins against somebody of quality like Luke Campbell, but he hurt him. He got to him. He was patient in figuring out what the proper distance was with Campbell. I would say that he'd gotten buzzed more than I'd say he'd gotten hurt at any particular time. Campbell was the one that was hurt twice. The second time, he wisely took a knee, got himself out of harm's way. I frankly was a little surprised at how lopsided the judges' scorecards were, especially in Great Britain. But I will say this. I had to fight 117 and 111, which was really only a round off most of the judges. But having seen Lomachenko in person, I say to you, if you haven't sat ringside and watched him and heard him and felt the air move around him without a barrier in front of you that's called a television screen or a phone screen or a camera, it's really hard to grasp all the subtle distinctions that go into making him such a good fighter. So he's well on his way to unifying the division. He's got one belt left. He picked up the WBC belt in this fight, and we're all going to have to wait for that one. It looks like it'll be sometime early in 2020, and I look forward to it.
I'll go to you for a quick word on this bout, Daniel. Your reaction to Loma's win over Luke Campbell.
It was a very good win, and it's actually a better showing for Luke Campbell than to me when it came to Loma, because let's face it, we kind of treated in many ways, at least casual fans had treated this as Luke Campbell just being a lamb led to the slaughter. But he showed his mettle, he showed his toughness, and he also did show something that I've always kept in mind as soon as Lomachenko moved up to 135. To me, this is his plateau. He's naturally smaller than most lightweights, and he can be buzzed or even hurt by it. And that's what happened to Luke Campbell. Throughout the fight, even though Loma figured out the distance and hurt him to the body, people have to figure out that Luke Campbell was landing a looping left hand over Lomachenko's guard, particularly in the first half of the fight, almost at will when he had the opportunity. And that plays a lot into a factor when you have to get somebody that likes to hurt to the body and likes to take those shots like a Richard Comey or Teofimo Lopez. So that's going to be an interesting shot, but I kind of do agree with the scorecards as far as if you're just looking at it from a technical standpoint, but this is also one of the fights where on the eyes it does look a lot closer than what the scorecard said, but a good showing by Luke Campbell, and one more belt for Loma.
This is where we're going to start to split the fights up. In terms of Loma, I agree with the general assessment from both you, Gail, and Daniel. Campbell, if Campbell was in there against Comey, I think he beats him. It just speaks to how, and I tend to agree with you, Gail, as well, as that was, if that Campbell had shown up against Linares, Campbell may well not only won, but he may well have stopped him. Campbell, in my opinion, he's improved greatly since that loss to Linares, but Loma is a superior fighter right now. He's elite, and that's just the break sometimes. You're a good fighter, you just happen to fight a better fighter, and Campbell just fought a better fighter. Where he goes from here, who knows? I'm hearing rumors of him possibly moving up to 140. As for Loma, ultimately just going to wait for the winner of Lomachenko and the young upstart. Not Loma, but Comey and the young upstart Teofimo Lopez, and that's the fight that we're going to see sometime in 2020. The question for me is, should he unify the title? What is he going to do? Is he going to stay at 135, or will he move back down, because he's talked about possibly moving down in post-fight interviews? Let's move on. I'll go to you, Gail, again to talk about this next fight. Controversial fight, as Charlie Edwards defending his WBC flyweight title against Julio Cesar Martinez, a mandatory defense. First ruled a knockout for Martinez, but upon replay, Martinez, who had Edwards in trouble, had put him down, had hit him with a hook to the body after Edwards was on one knee. Mauricio Suleiman, who was in attendance at the event, immediately called it a no contest and ordered a immediate rematch. Your reaction to the fight itself, uh, the fact that Suleiman decided quickly to call it a no contest, your reaction to overall what you saw, because it's kind of hard luck, because after not Edwards, he had the distance, he was in somewhat sense of control, but once Martinez stepped it up in that third round, he ran through him. Edwards has nothing. And again, he hit foolish shot by Martinez. He cost himself a knockout win.
He did. It was unfortunate. Well, first of all, let's make it clear. Martinez had the fight in hand virtually from the opening bell. He swarmed Edwards. He was busy. He was accurate. He was no joke. He is out of Mexico City, somewhat of an unknown quantity. But one thing that I hope everybody noticed, his trainer in the corner, one Eddie Reynoso, the trainer of Canelo Alvarez. So I don't think a guy like Eddie Reynoso wastes a lot of time on a journeyman or a prospect that's not going anywhere. He spotted the talent. He's been working with him. Martinez's only loss of all things was his debut, his professional debut. He hasn't lost a fight since. So he met business and he was taking it to Edwards. Edwards was in big trouble, hurt, body shots, hooks. He decided to take a knee. Smart thing. Martinez's account is that he did not, the referee did not get in between them, had not waved it off. So he felt he was free to continue to punch. Well, Edwards had taken a knee. The referee was not in the best position, and Martinez clearly hit Edwards to the body while he was on a knee on the canvas, because there was an absolute delay between the flurry of hard shots that caused him to take the knee and the knockdown and maybe the end of the fight. It didn't look like he was going to go much further. But then Martinez sealed the deal by nailing him. Then Edwards, rolled to the ground. Yeah.
Are you there, Gail?
I was about to say, I thought it was me.
Yeah, I thought it was me as well. Gail, you suddenly went out on us. I'll pick it up with you, Daniel. Your reaction to Martinez, uh, the Edwards Martinez bout in the controversial ending.
I completely agree with Gail. Martinez had the fight from jump, but the stupidity, unfortunately, of A, even having the thought of hitting somebody or your opponent while his knees down.
Yeah, that's a bogus excuse on his fight. He should know. He should know.
Yeah,
Fighting as long as he has as a professional, if a guy goes on one knee, you don't punch him. You don't hit him. You back
yeah.
away.
You back away, and it doesn't matter if you get hurt. It doesn't matter if you get through the referee. And Gail mentioned Reynoso. Do you think it's gonna fall upon him and his reputation, because that's unfortunately a reflection on him. So I'm pretty sure he got his real talking to after the fight. But it was a fight that Martinez had in his hand. He had Charlie Edwards beat from jump, and one stupid mistake. You have to remember, folks, one stupid mistake, one circumstance can pretty much tempt your fate. Ask Vitaly Klitschko about that. One cut prevented him from dethroning Lennox Lewis when he clearly was beating the crap out of Lennox Lewis. So that is ultimately going to be an interesting situation. It's almost similar in a way to me to Luis Neri's situation, where as Neri just did not really make weight. In this case, Martinez blatantly hit Edwards to the body, and it's like I said, it's a bad reflection all around. But if they do the rematch, it's gonna be interesting how Charlie Edwards adjusts to this.
Um, let me see if Gail is back. Okay, think
I
Gail is
am
back.
back. I
Okay.
am back.
Quick question before we move on to other fights. They're going to fight again. They're going to fight a rematch either late this year, early next year. Do you see things changing? Because the way, because I slightly differ. I thought Edwards did a decent job of maintaining distance. Do you think that Edwards can do? Do you think there will be anything different in a rematch as opposed to what we saw Saturday afternoon our time? Personally, I don't. The way that Martinez stepped it up and really, when he really put pedal to the metal, Edwards has no answer. I don't think he's going to have any answers for the rematch. He just doesn't. He doesn't have the strength, physical. He can't hurt Martinez, and I don't know what he can do to combat the body work and the power of Martinez. Your thoughts? First, you, Gail, and then you, Daniel.
Completely agree with you, Michael. I think we're going to see round 4, when the rematch opening bell sounds. I think they're going to pick up right where it left off. Edwards, clearly recovered. But other than that, Martinez had this in the bag. I mean, there was no question. That's got to rattle Edwards' mind in the mind. And Martinez doesn't need to change a thing. He was so damn successful. I'm just not sure what Edwards can bring to the party that's going to make any difference. I hope that they get to it soon. And I will say, I think Martinez made a mistake in his excitement and his haste. Yes, he landed the punch deliberately. Did he deliver that punch knowing it was a foul? I don't think he did. Because why would he screw himself over that way? I'm very glad the ruling was immediate. There's a saying in the legal community, justice delayed is justice denied. The justice was not delayed. It was leveraged immediately. The only thing you could argue is whether it should have been a DQ to Martinez, but I don't think the intent was there. It was the right call.
Again, let's move on and now start to split the fights up. I just think that Edwards. I said last week that Martinez was going to give him hell, and if that Edwards was not really on his game and not able to hurt this guy, he was going to be in trouble. It proved to be the case, and the same stance I had last week is going to stand in a rematch. Uh, Edwards has to be really on it. He has to fight the fight. He's going to have to put out the performance of his life to beat this guy. If he's not able to hurt him, if he's not able to box at an elite level, he's not going to win. He was on the way to losing this fight, and he's going to be on the way to losing he's going to lose a rematch, in my opinion, if when they fight. Let's move on to more fights. I apologize for this, Daniel, beforehand. Um, Hughie Fury and Povetkin. Honestly, I admit that I have not seen the fight. Uh, People who I've read, uh, detail the fight. It was a snoozer. It was a bore. I've heard some folks even say that they caught up on some good sleep watching the fight. Others said basically their ADD kicked in. They either turned to something else or because they were so bored. Again, I apologize, Daniel, because I'm going to leave it up to you to describe. From all accounts, was just a snoozer, a fight that stunk on ice. And once again, uh, based on reports, it says to me that Hughie Fury, he has talent, but the main problem is, from my view, is he doesn't have the confidence. he doesn't have the inbred confidence that his cousin Tyson has.
I'm gonna bring in the joke that we brought in before the show started. For the millennial or elder millennial portion of our audience, you probably grew up watching Married with Children. There was an episode where the main guy, Al Bundy, finds out that his family always buys his Father's Day gifts from a store called God Awful. This fight was worse than God Awful. I tortured myself in actually watching this. And I don't know why this was let go on. I get it. Povetkin was landing, but not enough to really knock out Hughie. But at the same time, it falls into what you were saying, Mike. Hughie has not really had a lot of confidence, particularly since that loss to Joseph Parker, where he had a chance for the world title. Ever since then, if he had a victory, he didn't look confident in it. And in this case, he had a loss. He pretty much took it. Now, obviously, there's a situation involving, obviously, the Fury family. Tyson is the more outspoken and the more accomplished of the two. That comes with age and defeating a man like Vladimir Klitschko. But at the end of the day, I think while he has talent, Hughie, there's things there. Hughie can do things in the ring. Like, he knows how to measure distance. He knows how to use his footwork. The problem is going to be, is he strictly going to be at is he strictly going to now be in a situation where when he gets put up against world caliber competition, and yes, folks, despite all of the fuck ups that he has done, despite all of the times he's gotten caught, as far as talent in this era of heavyweights, Alexander Povetkin is world level. Hughie has to really look into whether, when he faces world level, if he's able to do it, or if he's had best a European level talent. That's going to be an interesting decision to make. But this, like I said, I tortured myself watching this fight. I do not blame anybody for falling asleep during it. I do not blame people for probably getting caught up in yard work, taxes, maybe doing back to school things, because you did not miss much in this fight. But the only thing that it gains from it is that it keeps Povetkin still within the outer orbits of world title contention.
Last bout on the docket. I'm going back to you, Gail. We talked about two more bouts. I want to skip the Bawatsi bout. I'm gonna leave that to Daniel, but first I want to jump to the bout with Lara. We talked about last week where one of your pet peeves is fighters not making weight. Well, Alvarez, he comes in nearly 4.5 pounds over. Once I saw that, you knew that Alvarez was a significant underdog against Lara. Once I saw the news about that, again, why bother? I just saw highlights of the fight. I didn't watch it because I knew what was going to happen. I knew Lara was going to win and win easily, and he did just that, stopping Alvarez. Did you get anything from this bout? You there, Gail?
Uh-oh.
You're on mute, Gail. I think she went out on us again. I'll go to you, Daniel, instead. The same question I posed to Gail, I'm gonna ask you. Once I knew that Alvarez came in overweight, I knew he had no chance. I didn't think he had much of a chance going in, And Lara, he did what he was supposed to do. Did you get anything from this?
No. other than the entertainment factor of that, the PBC flew somebody in. I forgot the guy's name, but flew somebody in to Minnesota and had him on standby up to the ring walk, just in case Ramon decided not to do it. And in all honesty, it probably would have suited him best if he would have taken this up. But obviously, like I said, this was a situation where Ramon obviously made no real effort in trying to make weight. No real effort. And it ultimately cost him, because you're facing a guy in Erislandy, Lara, who, say what you will about his fighting style, he takes his job seriously.
It's called being a professional, Daniel.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And he takes his job seriously. He's a professional about it. And ultimately did what he was supposed to do. Will it gain anything? Unfortunately, I don't really know in this stage. When it comes to this division, given what we're going to talk about in the news, because this was a junior middleweight bout. But at least gets a good victory for his son, Lara, and he got him a knockout victory, which, looking late in his career, has become a rare commodity.
Going back to you for this last bout, going back to the UK card. I see Gail is back, so I'll go back to her to talk about this last bout. We're going back to the UK in the Lomachenko Campbell card. Joshua Buatsi, we talked about him repeatedly on this show. I think he's a champion in weight. He fought a guy, I think his last name was Allen. Didn't blow him out. Was made to work a little bit. He stopped him in 7. For me, the thought I got from this bout, Gail, was right bout, right time. Something needed for Buatsi. You want to see him go some rounds a bit. You want to see him extended a little bit, and he was extended. He was outclassing the guy beforehand before he eventually stopped him. But young fighters on the come up who have real potential to do special things, you want to see him test a bit, and you want to see him extended a bit, and that's what happened here. So we're all good experience for Buatsi. I like that he was extended. I like the fact that he went some rounds, but at the end of the day, he showed that he was the superior fighter. Overall, good thing for Buatsi here.
I think it was absolutely a great thing. A smart fight for him. A good match. Ryan Ford, a Canadian, was the opponent. He's a former MMA fighter. He had never been stopped. He'd been beaten, but not stopped. So he was a good challenge. He's a good-sized guy, and knows his way around a ring, or an octagon. He isn't intimidated. So that was important to have somebody like that in front of Buatsi. So he stopped him, 7th round. Absolutely. At this point of their career, they need work. One punch knockouts in the first round over and over and over don't allow them to develop the skills they need when they do get to the big leagues. Similar thing happened with Virgil Ortiz Jr. against Antonio Orozco. And what I really liked, even more than Buatsi's performance, was his comments after the fight, which, and I can't recall which one of the British reporters asked him about this, but they were asking him when he thought he was going to feel ready to fight the guys at the top of the division, win one of those belts off those guys. And he said, "Hey, don't rush me. You're rushing me." And he laughed. He was very lighthearted about it. That is absolutely the right attitude. Don't rush me. No need to rush this guy. He's young. He's talented. There's no reason to push him to that point in as competitive a division. And with as much talent at the top in that division, there's absolutely no need for it. He's doing exactly the right thing, and that does not always happen in boxing. So let's be respectful and celebrate it. But a good look for Buatsi and good exposure for him on this card with a very big, enthusiastic British audience there. That was a good appearance for him.
Let's move on to some news here. News that broke today, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. Julian J. Rock Williams earlier this year upset Jarrett Hurd to win the BA IBF junior middleweight titles. There was a rematch clause. They were set to fight, I want to say, in December. Well, news broke today that Hurd has pulled out of the fight. The fight is a no-go. And I'm going to you, Daniel. You can comment on this, Gail. Uh, no explanation why Jarrett Hurd has pulled out of the fight. I think the fight was going to be December 14th. What do you make of this? This is weird. You're going to pull out of a rematch. You don't give an explanation. It should be a rematch that you want, but you're saying that you don't want it to happen now. What do you make of this?
Well, let's play a little bit of the factors into what has weighed into it. It looks like J-Rock was very insistent upon VADA testing, which is very valid in this case. And there's also the fact that when you look at Jarrett Hurd, we've always described him. You can basically probably see him as a super middleweight now. And he was fighting the junior middleweight. He most likely, and he's a young kid, so he's probably reaching a point where he can't really come into the division anymore. So that could be a factor into it, but the suddenness of it also can play a factor into confidence. Now, you have to remember that Jarrett Hurd, for the most part, runs in the similar circles as quote-unquote band camp, like Adrian Broner's posse. And something pretty interesting that I noticed when it comes to a lot of those fighters that happen into it, that come from that little clique, they don't take losses really well. And it takes them a while to rebuild the confidence necessary to come back from those losses. So now you have a situation probably where Jarrett Hurd has a situation where he may have grown himself out of the division, and he may not have the confidence to fight again, because we have to remember Jarrett Hurd's style was always, I will take as much punishment as I can as long as I can dish out my own. And I'll just win out based on guts. And he fought somebody in J-Rock who not only took his best, but gave better as far as skill. And I am a bit surprised, though, because it's September now. The fight would have been December 14th. You have almost over 3 months to train for this fight, and probably over 3 months to see if you can still make weight. So, in all likelihood, to me, it probably has to do with the weight. Very much likely, he probably feels he can't really make that weight anymore, and maybe he'll see that move to 160 fairly soon.
Your reaction to this, Gail?
I think she dropped out.
Okay, again, I didn't look. I'm not on let me open up the tab. Okay, maybe she's having some technical issues. Apologies for that. Go to the next story here, Daniel. Tank Davis, for the past couple of weeks now, back and forth between Davis's camp, Leonard Ellerbe, Mayweather, the money team, Mayweather Promotions, back and forth between them and Eddie Hearn Matchroom in regards of a fight between Tank and one Tevin Farmer, former IBF champion at 130 pounds. Well, yesterday, I believe it was. Yeah, it was yesterday. Tank Davis has decided that he's going to give up his version, WBA version of his WBA version of the super featherweight title, planning to move up to 120, 130, 35 pounds. Planning to move up to lightweight. There's already been talks about him fighting um, New York's Gamboa for a vacant WBA regular super, whatever the hell you want to call it, champion title, I should say, at 135 pounds. Thoughts of Tank moving up, and are you frustrated that it seems that all of this talk of a Tank Tevin fight was BS from jump? That Tank never really wanted the fight to begin with?
Yeah, this is something that I pretty much expected when it came into it, because it definitely looked at no point throughout this entire deal where Tank and Tevin Farber have been talking that Leonard Ellerbe and Floyd Mayweather were ever going to be serious about putting Tank in the same ring as Tevin Farber, because they know what's probably going to happen, which is, as far as boxing skills, Tank would likely be embarrassed by Tevin Farber at this stage of his career. Now, people will take into account Tank's power and his naturally going to the body, but and this side you have to take into account for somebody that has as little amateur experience as Tevin Farmer has. He's still a better skilled fighter than Tank. And he probably faced an area where Tank would have probably gotten a decision loss. And like I said, and when you're in the Mayweather camp and you've been bred to protect the O at all costs, that doesn't just fall into the plan. Now, moving up to lightweight, there's obviously if you're looking for an actual title shot, not what the WBA does, because we have to remember Tank gave up a title that he technically didn't earn. That a title
It was
that
given to him, yeah.
it was given to him, and it was ripped from Alberto Machado, who and now Cancio has it. So, like I said, I've always recognized Machado and now Cancio as the legitimate WBA 130-pound champion. But they're gonna do the same thing with Gamboa. Gamboa is a pretty okay. It's an understandable opponent. Tank will blitz right through him, and you give him their title. But then you run into the whole factor. One of the supposed real roadblocks was supposedly the fact that obviously Tevin Farmers with Eddie Hearn and with the zone, and they try to say, "Oh, try to make the fight of the PVC." Tevin Farmer has made it known that he'll go anywhere if it involves fighting Tank. So now, move to 135 pounds. Almost all of the players are with ESPN and Top Rank. So you're going to run into a situation now, 135 pounds, where you're really going to be out of the loop as far as actual world title contention. And seriously, what is that LRB and Floyd Mayweather going to do? They're going to try to say everybody's too scared to fight Tank when everybody knows you're not even going to make a half-ass effort to try to make the fight? To me, this is just, okay, Tank outgrew the division, and B, they kind of know that when he's faced against the fighters that are right up position at 135 pounds, more than likely, Tank will lose.
Before I go to Gail, I want to say it's been a long time, but he's back on the show. both from Truth and Facts About Sports and as well as Three Kings Boxing. I'm going to bring him into the discussion now. We're talking Gervonta Davis, who said all the talk for the past couple of weeks has been regarding a potential fight between him and Tevin Farmer at 130 pounds. Well, yesterday, Tank announced that he's moving up to 135, and I'll pose the same question to you, Bo, and then you can follow up, Kel. The same question to you, Bo. I just asked Daniel, what do you make of this? And was all this talk of a Tank Tevin fight just BS, and that Tank Davis, or should I say specifically Floyd, never wanted a fight with Tevin Farmer to begin with?
I don't think it's so much it didn't want Tevin Farmer. He just didn't want Tank Davis on his own. That was it, bottom line. Floyd likes to call the shots. If he's going to do something with his fighter, he wanted to be where he wanted to be and when he wanted to be. Now, the only thing is that, and I think we talked about this, me in 2K, my issue is that, okay, supposedly they offered Tank they offered Tank $5 million, which I even say to this day, I kind of don't believe that, but whatever. And then they offered Tevin $2 million. So between the two of them, okay, you got offered 5, you got offered 2, but neither one of y'all decided to take it. Why? Because again, Eddie Hearn wanted this on his own. He's always said that if you is willing to pay my fighter more money, then he could fight on your network. But he really wanted this on his own. And Floyd Mayweather didn't want Tank on his own. And essentially, that's really what that boiled down to. And as far as Tank going to 135 pounds, look, I think Daniel had touched upon it. And it was a situation where he was outgrowing division. And I'm not shocked about it because think about this. There was a video circulating of Tank at home with a pot freaking belly where his girl was slapping on him and everything and messing on him, and she was filming him. And he's over in the corner with a pot belly. And I knew then when I saw that video, I said, Tank's not going to be at 132 much longer. Okay. And Floyd told all of us, man, he said that our goal is to take the least path of resistance that will give us the more money for Tank. I'm going to put some names on his resume to make him hot, to make him popular, and that's pretty much going to be it. Now, I've said this. If he goes 135 and he pursues a Lomachenko fight, I would like if he has one fight to get used to acclimated, then he decides to go ahead on and fight Lomachenko after that fight. Okay, fine. I won't, no problem. But if he goes 135 and don't even look at Vasiliy Lomachenko, oh man, Tank is not going. Him and Floyd is not going to hear the end of my mouth because the bottom line was 130-pound division has been stagnant. I was hoping for a unification, and Tank told Tevin, "Go get a belt, and we'll talk about fighting." Well, Tevin did that. Subsequently, he got your freaking belt that you used to have. So at the end of the day, man, this is Floyd wanting control of everything on his side. And I think that's the reason why we saw this play out. But I just, like I said, though, I still left a bad taste in my mouth when they offered Tevin the $2 million. And he wound up turning that down. But I could also understand why, because it's like, listen, I want this on my network. So that's really what it boils down to, is they wanted to fight on the zone. And honestly speaking, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I see what Floyd Mayweather would, because Leonard Ellerbe was trying to say that it's dead zone because more people will see it on the if we do it on Fox or whatever the case. And you can make a case for him because Eddie Hearns was trying to say that he was trying to indicate about, oh, it's better if it's on the zone, more people see it. American market isn't the only market, but it is the market that Tank has built himself on. And it is the more, and which is funny because that's the market that the zone wanted to get into, was to have fights more in the American market. But at the end of the day, man, I've always felt that this was never between Tevin and Tank. This was always between Floyd and Eddie. Because notice Leonard Ellerbe was doing talking. Floyd not once said anything. I don't even think Floyd even talked to Eddie Hearn. So that's really what it boiled down to. It just boiled down to a case of egos, man.
That's ridiculous on all accounts. Your thoughts on already they're putting rumors of Tank being put in the ring against a Gamboa for a belt at 135 pounds, 100 WBA, whatever you want to call it, regular, super, whatnot. To me, Bo, and you can comment, Daniel, that says they're going to do to Tank at 135 what they did to him at 30, which is basically give him a title.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Yes and no. Here's the thing. Because each governing sanction body has their own set of rules. I think the WBO, if you're a former champion moving up in weight, you get to fight. You get to fight for a title. That's something we was talking about. And then Tank Davis was the WBA champion at 130 pounds. So having him go to 135 and fight for a version of WBO title, that's not the egregious part to me, because you was a former champion at the lower division. So you're fighting for a belt that you had in a lower division, even though it's a regular title. The egregious part is, why a fucking regular title? Like, you're gonna go from being the super champion to the regular champion in another division. But I understand why, because the regular champion don't necessarily have to worry about tough mandos. I mean, think about this for a second. Who that's a name is going to try to fight for the regular title when you got the super champion right there? That's number one. Then on the top of that, and you said it, they could be up underneath Vasiliy Lomachenko without worrying about being pitted against Vasiliy Lomachenko, unless the WBA goes to consolidate belts. Now, if the goal is to get it to be under Vasiliy Lomachenko to try to get a fight with him, you still got to convince me of that, because I've seen this happen too many times. Bubu Andrade tried that with Lara, and Lara just left him there holding on to a regular fucking title. Didn't have to fight him, right? So, and then fighting you against Gamboa, who's surprised by that? When Al Heyman signed him, I knew right then that was the move, because Gamboa is he's a former world champion, former pound for pound guy, and he's still his name still holds some type of quality. And that's actually been the move for Tank Davis. Listen, they brought Abner Morris up to face Tank after coming off a loss, right? Then they brought Quadras up. They did the same thing with Quadras. Okay, so that's pretty much been the sort of the rolling ball when it comes to Tank Davis. And it's sad, but it also says to me that they're going to do with him. We'll put him in the fight when we feel he's ready for it. I personally think they probably think, because it's funny, because after the Lomachenko fight, where Lomachenko got touched a little bit, where people felt Lomachenko was getting touched more than usual, was having some issues. All of a sudden, oh, okay, I'm gonna go to 135. So they might think that, okay, he's slowing down, he's losing a step, we'll make the fight. Now we're willing to go up and make that fight. That's the only viable option for Tank to be at 135 and not look to fight Lomachenko, or not look to fight Devin Haney or Teofimo Lopez or any of these champions. If he makes this move and don't do that, this could backfire on them with fans that's looking at because Tank it's not like Tank is not a guy nobody knows. Tank is a name. All right. So if you're going to go to 135 where there's other names and you're not looking to do anything but just hang out, that could backfire on them, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Your reaction to this, Daniel?
To me, that is exactly what's going to happen. Because, Bo, you mentioned that Floyd wants control. The person he wants to least give control to is Bob Arum. And unfortunately, right now, Bob Arum has consolidated all of the major pieces at the lightweight division that have belts, where it's Lomachenko and Richard Comey. And if Comey loses, Teofimo Lopez. And not to mention, you mentioned a good prospect, Devin Haney. He's on the zone. So it is going to play into a factor to where, okay, you're going to give Tank the regular belt, and then he's going to defend a regular title, try to call himself a lightweight champion. But knowing full well, he's not going to probably get the shot until Loma decides what he's going to do. Either stay at 135 or go back down to 130. Like I said, the only feasible way for me to think that this is a logical move is that knowing, like I said, the players and knowing the pieces that are where they're positioned at is Tank simply outgrew the division. He can't make 130 anymore in a healthy way. So the next logical move, okay, put it to the lightweight. Do what you like. Bo mentioned. Just keep putting people that they know Tank will blitz through, and just having look at the showcase. But it is going to backfire pretty badly because okay, Tank's going to have outstanding victories, but they're going to know it's not against a champion. It's not against.
Here's the problem, though, fellas. And Gail said she had to dip out. She had a scheduled appointment, so she had to dip out early. Here's the problem. Loma has said his goal is to unify the belts at 135 pounds, then move back down to 130. So that means if he unifies the belt, he's going to fight the winner of Come Teofimo. Where does that leave him? Does that leave him a possibility of Devin Haney? When would that fight happen? A year from now?
I don't know if that
months from
fight's
now?
going to happen, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't know if that fight's going to happen because Bob Arams made a comment that was kind of suspect to me. He said a better fight to me is Lomachenko versus Shakur Stevenson than Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. And that really bothered me when I heard that because why are you talking about a guy that's 2 weight divisions below your guy? I mean, and he's a top-ranked guy. So I understand that Devin Haney's not a top-ranked guy. And Lomachenko and Shakur Stevenson is. We all know how Bob is. Bob likes to build stars, but he likes to build them in house. So if it's a passing of the torch, he wants that to be. That was the problem with Pacquiao. Pacquiao wouldn't pass the torch to Crawford, and that's kind of what he does. So when he thinks it's and Shakur Stevenson is probably 2 years away from even leaving 122 pounds. So the fact that he's already looking at Loma and Stevenson and saying that, that's a better fight than Loma and Devin Haney, that doesn't bring a lot of confidence to me when I hear that. But I know he did say, and I'm talking about Lomachenko said he would be willing to go down to 130 to pursue a Tank fight. Now, if Tank goes to 135, maybe Lomachenko tries to pursue a fight with Tank Davis. The problem with all of this, though, is we got to put pressure on these guys to fight. Like, there's too many factions in boxing nowadays, and then with Instagram and Twitter and all of this, where these people can get to them, and you have 100,000 people telling Tank, he's making the right moves, nothing wrong with what he's doing. We agree what he's doing. These fighters hearing this from 200,000 people or even 1 million people, it doesn't put any urgency in them to do anything great or make any moves. And that's the problem that you have going on right now. It's too many factions, and we got to put pressure on these guys. Yo, man, freaking fight each other, man.
I'm going to go back here before we go forward. The previous news story. Jarrett Hurd deciding to pull out of the rematch with J-Rock. What do you make of that? No explanation given as we began this show. Daniel suggested it may be an issue with Hurd having issues getting down to 154 pounds. I'm trying to wrap my head around this, Bo. Your thoughts?
So much the thing to go on. Okay, you already got people hinting toward him not wanting to do the drug testing because Julian J-Rock Williams did put something out that, that 90 day where you supposed to sign up for VADA, you haven't done it yet. You don't sign up for VADA. We're not going to make the fight. I would like to think that's not the issue because Jarrett Hurd did it the first time. If Jarrett Hurd didn't want to do drug testing, he could have simply said when he was the champion, when Julian J-Rock Williams won it, he could have said, "Hey man, I'm the champion. I don't want that shit." He could have said that like, "Hey man, I'm the champion. I don't want that shit. Now if you win, we rematch, fine." But he didn't. He went along with it. So I want to think that that's not the case. It's not a PED. I think it may be a situation of he got rid of his trainer, and I don't know. I don't know if he got a new trainer. I heard he may have got one, but there's no name. So it might be some complications in training camp with his, with this trainer. Them guys getting the sync and getting on cue. Maybe even finding a trainer that would work for him. Also, as far as I'm getting down in weight, Jarrett Hurd was a big 154 pounder. Jarrett Hurd could easily be at 168 pounds. That could be something too. But it is suspicious when a guy pulls out of a fight and doesn't give an excuse. Now, like I said, people are already hinting toward the PED because he never registered. I personally would like to think that that's not the case, only because you did it the first time. So, why do it the first time and not the second time? That's number one. Then you invoked your rematch clause knowing, what was there. So why wait this long? It could be a situation of, like you mentioned, Mike, weight could be the issue. I personally think it's a lot more problems and troubles in his camp than it's being told to us or being revealed to us. And hence the reason why it's like, man, I'm going to pull out this fight, because the fight's in December. And already maybe things ain't going right in camp. Maybe I don't have the right trainer I need. So who knows what it could be. The only thing we can hope is that it's something that's validated and excusable. But until we hear from Jarrett Hurd, we're just guessing.
So yeah, that's again a puzzling situation here. I hope we get some clarification going forward. One last note, Bo. You said you weren't here for the earlier discussion about Lomachenko and Campbell, and the strange ending, the controversial ending to Charlie Edwards and Martinez. So I want to get a quick word from you on those two fights.
People have been criticizing the Lomachenko fight. Barry Hearns said something about him not, being impressive, and people was criticizing Lomo, saying that he got touched up more than usual. He didn't look as dominant. Listen, there's a difference between being critical and criticizing and being a straight up fucking hater, right? You beat a guy 8-4, 9-3. That's fucking dominant. Okay, I'm sorry, that's dominant. But in boxing, when you move up in weight, all right, and the advantages that you have start disappearing per division as you go up in weight, the height advantage, the reach advantage, the speed advantage, when those start disappearing, then you're gonna see what you saw from Lomachenko versus Campbell, right? And then on top of that, people tell me that they're boxing fans, but they talk like they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Campbell is no fucking slouch. The dude was a former Olympic gold medalist. His only loss came to Yvonne Mendy. Oh, by the way, happened to be a fucking champion. Okay. So why are we talking like, oh, he's getting touched by this guy Campbell? Campbell's a good fighter, and Campbell is a top 5 fucking fighter in that goddamn division. All right. If you go through the division and you tell me, give me some names, you're gonna name Haney, you're gonna name Lopez, of course, you're gonna name Lomachenko, you're gonna name Comey, and then you're gonna say fucking Campbell. Like, so what are we talking about here? So people criticizing him getting touched up like that. Yes, that as you go up in weight and the older you get and your reflexes slow down, right? You have to rely on other things to win fights. Lomachenko proved something that I thought a long time about him was, I said, yo, man, he's going only off pure athleticism. Well, I saw him use very good ring IQ against a taller fighter that had a game plan, right? It's just we saw the difference between elite level and B level. He had a game plan. Lomachenko was able to overcome that. So that's what we saw. So this whole he getting touched up and all that, man, stop it. Just fucking stop. Look, he beat fucking Rigo, okay? He's probably passing Terrence Crawford on the list of number 1 pound for pound. Fucking deal with shit like that, man. Damn. That's one. And then that was a strange ending to the Charlie Edwards fight. And that was actually the punch when he went down. If that dude don't throw that second punch, Charlie Edwards probably takes the L. He probably no doubt takes the L. But it was a punch when he was on the canvas. We hate to say that. It happened to Roy Jones. So some of the greatest in the sport had this happen to him. And it was a late punch. And I think the WBC, Alicia Solomon, them, they did do the right thing. When the referee said that the other guy won, they quickly said, no, he was hit late, right? So instead of making a decision, we're going to say, this is a no contest, quickly, when we're going to reorder the rematch. So I was okay with that. But going into the rematch, I think it's going to be different for Edwards because now this guy knows he can hurt him. Now this guy knows he can, he can stand there, he can go with him. So it's going to be something special. But Edwards got to look at what he's going to have to face. So hopefully he can make that adjustment going into training camp.
I don't think he has the physical strength or power to hold him off. You
That
saw
could
what
be, yeah.
you know when Martinez really stepped on the gas in round 3,
Mm-hmm.
he destroyed him,
Yeah, he
put him
did.
down.
Yeah, he did.
He
No,
turns
he
he
did. I
turns
can't
up
lie.
he
He
turns up
did.
like that again. I just don't see what Edwards can has to push him back. If you
Well,
don't
if
have the
he's a
power, if you
smart,
don't have the,
go ahead.
but is he? And my thing is, he's not Tanaka in terms of elite boxing ability. He's a good boxer.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a great boxer. You have to have elite level skill to deal with someone who's physically stronger and who has the power advantage against you.
You know, Mike.
I don't know if Edwards is that level boxer.
Well, here's the thing, Mike. All he really has to do, Mike, is just have a good game plan and execute the game plan on an elite level. He don't have to have elite level skill. Just come in with your game plan and execute that game plan. You got a good look at what you're gonna have to face, whether you underestimate this guy or whatever. So you got a good look at him. So here it is. You're going into training camp. You know what you're going to be faced against. Come up with a game plan, and you're going to have to execute that game plan on an elite level. All you got to do is win 8, 9 rounds out of the 3 and don't get dropped or get stopped. It can he do that? Can Charlie Edwards do that? That's going to be the biggest question, because once upon a time you might have felt he did. But I'm not going to lie to you. After the way the dude jumped on him in the 3rd round, after the way he got knocked the fuck down, and I mean, he was physically hurt. I guarantee you, Charlie Edwards, if he's somewhere sitting like, whew, I barely held on to my title. If that's going through Charlie Edwards' mind, it's going to be a long night for him in that rematch. I agree.
Let's move on to preview some fights. There's really nothing happening this weekend, and given that I am going to take next week off, going to take some vacation time. Let's
Oh,
start previewing
congratulations,
some.
man.
Yeah, finally.
Where you going to go?
Let's. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. So let's preview some fights that's going to happen on the 14th, the weekend of the 14th. Going to you first, Daniel. This fight is happening on the 13th, I believe. Devin Haney, he's stepping back into the ring, fighting a guy by the name of Abdullaev. Haven't seen much of Abdullaev, haven't done much of my research. If you have, Daniel, your impressions of him and how much trouble do you think he can give the young upstart Haney?
I think Daniel's going.
Oh, okay. So I'll take that. I'll pose that question to you, Bo.
How much question? What do I think he'll give Devin Haney?
Yeah.
I think this, honestly speaking, Mike, this is a showcase fight. Devin Haney has to keep his name out there. He has to stay relevant, but he has to look spectacular, right? He has signed a co-promotion deal with Matchroom, okay, because he still has his own, Devin Haney, heavy Haney promotions. So to me, I think what this is this is just a showcase fight. Will the guy give Devin Haney some trouble? I think he'll give him enough trouble to where he can make Devin Haney, where we can see more of Devin Haney's skills. But I don't think there's no real danger here.
Move on to some more fights. Intriguing women's bout that's gonna between Heather Hardy and Amanda Serrano.
Yes.
2 high-profile ladies getting into the ring. Elite level women's boxing happening here, Bo. Serrano, multiple-time champion. I personally think that she should be shooting for one Katie Taylor against a Hardy, who's a really, really good fighter on paper. This is an excellent matchup that people are not talking about. We spend so much time when we talk about women's boxing, talked about Shields and Hammer and Pearson and Taylor that took place on the Ruiz Joshua undercard. Haven't heard much talk about this women's bout, but this is being slept on. A very good bout, in my opinion, Bo.
No, I agree with you. And if you want to hear about it, go to Three Kings Boxing, because that's what we posted videos and everything about it, right? I'm glad to see Amanda Serrano in this fight. This is a significant fight. Now, Amanda Serrano did say she expressed some frustration about Eddie Hearn not even mentioning the Katie Taylor fight to her. She's expressed that, so there could be something there. But I actually like this fight. These are 2 big names. Heather Hardy's not an easy fight at all. As a matter of fact, Heather Hardy's riding high because the one girl that gave her some trouble on the PBC undercard, with the tattoo, Heather Hardy wound up knocking her out the second time they fought. Okay, so this is an excellent fight in my opinion. I think Heather Hardy with her, gritty type of style against Amanda Serrano is probably the better boxer in this right here. So it's going to be good to see. And then after that, I want to see what happens after that. Does Amanda Serrano verbally call out Katie Taylor? Does she say, hey, listen, I want this motherfucker. Give me Katie Taylor. Stop bullshitting me. Does she do that? And if she loses, if Amanda Serrano loses, this is perhaps possibly the biggest win with the biggest name on her resume as far as Heather Hardy. And actually, you can say the vice versa for Amanda Serrano. So I'm happy to see this fight. Glad to see these two, like you said, probably top 10 as far as known women in boxing right now, maybe top 10. They're in the top 10 somewhere, wherever you want to put them. So
I would
damn
agree with
good
that.
fight. Yeah, damn good fight, man. I just think the style of this fight is what's going to be exciting because Heather Hardy has that true grit, New York, get in your face type of style. She can bleed, she can be cut, she will keep fighting. Amanda Serrano kind of prides herself, that Puerto Rican pride. That's what she's coming in with in New York City. So Heather Hardy's from New York, but Amanda Serrano, New York, when Puerto Ricans is all over there. So that place is going to be rocking come fight day, man.
On the 14th, I guess we have to talk about this Tyson Fury. Okay, let me get him back on, and as I get him back on, we'll talk about this upcoming fight. I see he's back on. Now that you're back on, quick word, Daniel, on the fight between Amanda Serrano and Heather Hardy.
Oh man, I got to do the Birdman hand rub on that one. It's going to be a really, really good fight. Like Bo mentioned it, Heather Hardy is a very, very tough fighter. Obviously, she's going to bring a lot of natural fans from New York into it. But Amanda Serrano is also going to bring a lot of those fans into it. She's going to bring definitely a lot of those Boricuas out to go into it. So it's going to be a very, very lively crowd. And it's going to be a pretty, pretty interesting fight considering what Amanda Serrano has been able to accomplish. And in the weight class that she's in, I would definitely, it's going to be a banger of a fight. I would not be surprised if it's one of those fights that we look forward to and then it winds up stealing the show in the night.
Hey, Daniel, are you going to that fight?
I'm going to apply for credentials, yeah.
I said you're going to go look at the Boricuas. They're going to be...
Hey, I'm a good Boricua fan, so I'm good in that one.
More boxing that's happening on the 14th. It's going to happen in Vegas on ESPN Plus. Tyson Fury made a successful U.S. debut against a nobody by the name of Schwartz. On the 14th, he's fighting again a nobody by the name of Otto Wallin. I mean, look, going to you, Bo, the only footage I've really seen of Otto Wallin, yeah, he got a knockout win, but the knockout win was courtesy of a phantom punch. I'm not impressed from the video I've seen. Another showcase bout for Fury, in my opinion. Your thoughts? Pretty much. About as both.
Sorry, Mike. Did you ask me something? My bad. What did that? What
yeah. So
is it Monday already? Did I miss it? Did I miss it? Is it Monday already? You know what? The disappointing thing about this to me is that Bob.
Okay. Let me pose. What is going to be more of a snoozer, this fight or the fight between Hughie Fury and Povetkin this past weekend?
Probably Tyson Fury. Povetkin and Hughie Fury. I expect that to be an ugly fight. I expect that. Wait a minute. Didn't that fight happen already? Fight. Yeah. That was. I'm about to say, damn. I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't that fight happen already? Yeah, it was an ugly fight. So Tyson Fury. I'm gonna tell you why, man. At least Hughie Fury and Povetkin are names. You're fighting a guy that's not a name, and that's the thing that kind of gets to me is that the whole reason Bob claimed that he, stepped in and while the rematch didn't happen was to make a name for Tyson Fury fighting here in the U.S. Otto Wallin doesn't do that for you. That's why I'm looking like, well, Otto Wallin doesn't do that for you. So I don't. If Tyson Fury isn't knocking this dude out, I'm not going to expect much out of this fight, to be honest with you. I mean, he's an undefeated heavyweight, like you said, but nobody knows this dude. Like, I don't see the upside to Tyson Fury fighting this guy at all, period.
I'm going to you, Daniel. Look, Tyson Fury has a habit of calling opponents or people he gets in the ring with bums. It looks like he's fighting another bum for the second straight fight. Your reaction to this fight against Wallin?
Oh man, the last time I had to talk about this, I almost got drunk because of the bullshit involved. I'll say it for a second. If you didn't listen a few weeks ago, when I heard this fight name, I thought this was Hughie. I thought, okay, Hughie, European level fighter. No, this is Tyson Fury once again. His team not risking any possible roadblocks to the Wilder rematch. But the problem is, okay, he's gonna show out his personality. Yes, technically he's temporarily making a home of Mexican Independence Day weekend in Vegas, but people know, like I said, people know that this fight's nothing more than just something to show off Fury. And people know there's not going to gain from it, but let's look at it. You fought Wilder, so you should just try to focus on getting that, but instead you've gone back to fighting Cephas in the worlds. I don't expect much of this fight. I forgot. I think it was Gail or you that mentioned that maybe Tyson Fury should try to walk out with like the poncho that Canelo usually wears on the Mexican Independence Day weekend. I say that because he's already a bald bastard, that he should just come out like straight up Sordenia Cholo. Just come out there with the blue plaid shirt, wife beater, maybe a bandana, and just be there like a vato, because that's probably the only entertainment thing that's going to happen in this fight.
Move on to some more fights here. On the undercard, Navarrete is fighting a guy by the name of Elorde of Navarrete. He just scored a win, a couple of weeks ago by the name of Devaka. Going back to you, Daniel, this should be another easy win, relatively easy win for Elorde. Elorde, his resume is not that impressive. To me, this is part 1, 2, 3 of Bob Arum's plan to promote Navarrete and hail him as the best in the division. Do you sense anything further, or am I pretty much on the mark here?
That's probably, it's probably going to be the main factor into it, because obviously Danny Ramon is busy, even though he technically, I think he pulled out of his fight today, of his defense, and got accused by his opponent of ducking. But then there's also Ray Vargas, who's promoted by Golden Boy, who himself wants to take a crack at Danny Ramon. So, and that, like I said, that is probably the fight that I would like to see when it comes into it, if they're ever going to try to make a unified Navarrete versus Vargas, because that is a fight that Navarrete can win. But you just got to build him up. You have to keep his name out there. And that's what Bob does. Remember, this was supposed to, if it wasn't going to be him, it was going to be Isaac Dogbe that's going to be in this seat. But Navarrete took the reins. He ran with it. He proved it wasn't a fluke in the rematch. And now just showcase him against a couple of opponents and see how 122 pounds shapes up, because all these three guys, Vargas, Navarrete, Ramon, they're all circling each other. And Ramon is the one you want to look at the most, since he has 2 belts.
Your thoughts, Bob?
Yeah, I agree with you. Daniel Ramon pulling out that fight was a big blow, but you're right. Listen, he struck gold with Emanuel Navarrete. I was doing film study on Emanuel Navarrete, and one of the things that I said was I picked Isaac Dogbe to win, because I said what Emanuel Navarrete needs to do to win the fight, he didn't fight like that. Sometimes he likes to get inside. He sometimes kind of like Paul William-esque. He would like to get inside. He wouldn't use his reach. He wouldn't, use his jab. he was more of an inside fighter. And I said, well, that plays into the hands of Isaac Dogboe. Well, lo and fucking behold, he fights Dogboe, the motherfucker boxed. He found his range. He found his jab. And like you said, he proved it wasn't a fluke by obliterating Dogboe in the rematch. So so you look at this, you have an all Latino belt lineup at 122 fucking pounds. Well, that's solid goddamn gold. Any fight you make is gonna be good and make some money. Oh, then by the way, one of your challengers, happens to be Latino. Then of course you got Brandon Figueroa. Okay, he's there for Daniel Ramon. So the biggest scare for me though is Ray Vargas. Ray Vargas looked at shaking his last fight, and it doesn't help that Guillermo Rigondeaux is number 1 by the WBC. That doesn't help at all, period. But I like what they're doing with Emanuel Navarrete. I think that Emanuel Navarrete just kind of came out of nowhere. Now, Juan Miguel Elorde, as you hinted, resume isn't impressive. But Mike, you got to remember, neither was Navarrete until we saw him that fateful night. And that's the beautiful thing about boxing. You never know where that fucking rose in the garbage can is going to come from.
Interesting point. I'll take note of that. More fights to talk about. One more fight. I'll go to you, Bo. Jaime Munguia fighting a guy by the name of Ollotey.
Hello? Mike?
Mike does have a little bit of issue with Wi-Fi time to time.
Oh, okay.
I think it's mainly is the whole thing is because this seems to be the weekend where guys are not taking real chances. And
well, okay, wait a minute. Jaime Munguia is fighting who?
He's fighting this mandatory.
Well, who's his mandatory? What's the name?
I forgot the guy's name. I think it's Alete.
No. Okay, I'll take mine with cream and sugar.
Yeah. But I think one thing also mentioned that Munguia said this will be his last fight at 154.
Okay. Yeah. No, Ollotey is not his mandatory, I don't think.
It's either that or a showcase fight. But he said, I think this is his last fight at 154.
Yeah, I think so too. They're lining him up for possibly making a run at 160. Now, the question is, if he goes to 160, by him being a former WBO champion, will he look to fight Demetrius Andrade, who's the WBO champion, or is Oscar going to save that scalp for Canelo? That's going to be the question, because by him being a former champion, he literally can fight Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. But if the thing is, well, save his scalp for Canelo, then who does he fight when he goes to 160 pounds? And that's going to be because, Jeff Horn lost, so you can't go that route anymore. Jeff, you know what I'm saying? Jeff Horn just took an L. So I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. Like right now, it's a tough position for them. Daniel, it is for Golden Boy and them. It's a tough position for them because you got to save some scalps for Canelo, but at the same time, you still got to have these guys fighting somewhat decent opposition to justify Canelo fighting them.
Yeah, sorry there. I lost connection. Let me finish with the question. Apologies. Munguia he has a new trainer. Do you think we will see any improvement? What do you think of Ollotey based off your film study of him? And do you think that Munguia is tempting fate, fighting once too many times at 154 pounds, which I am adamant he has difficulty making?
Well, like I told Daniel, when I heard the challenger's name, I immediately said I take mine with coffee and whipped cream. Yeah, this is definitely a showcase fight. I agree with you. I think he could be a hard time making weight, but I also think that, remember, there were talks about Jaime Munguia going to 160 and possibly being someone that Canelo Alvarez would challenge. That's what I was just telling Daniel is it's going to get kind of dicey here because by Munguia being a former WBO champion, if he moves up in weight, he can challenge the current champion. So is Oscar De La Hoya going to let Jaime Munguia fight Boo Boo Andrade, or is he going to try to save that scalp for Canelo? So now Jaime Munguia is at 160. Who does he fight? That's what I say, right? See, it's a tough position that they're in right now with Golden Boy. You signed an 11-fight contract. out of 11 fights, man, 4 or 5 of them fights got to be some blockbusters. So it's a tough position they're in. So I'm gonna be curious to see what happens. But listen, him fighting, that guy Ollotey, like you said, is a showcase fight because Jaime Munguia did not look good in his last fight against Dennis Hogan. He just didn't look good. And please don't get me started on that fuckery that's going on at 160 with the WBC and Charlo. But it's not looking. He had a hard time in that fight, so you gotta put him back in another fight to show that. Oh, wait a minute. To kind of like so people don't have a long time to mull over how he looked in that last fight. You got to eliminate that thought process from people with memory. How you do that? You put him in a fight like this, he'll blow this guy the hell away. And then when you go to 160, we'll hear he's going to 160. He could be a challenger for Canelo. He's Mexican versus Mexican champion versus the former Mexican champion. They can build it like that, man.
This is the part that makes it difficult into it because, granted, yes, Canelo's not even 30 yet, but he's been pretty much a professional fighter for half his actual life. And like I said, that's a wear and tear on a body, even when it's not even 30 yet. So if I'm Golden Boy, first of all, you are not the main promoter when it comes to Munguia. Zanfer still is. It just mainly Golden Boy takes care of everything when it's in the U.S., but if Munguia tends to fight in Mexico, Zanfer takes full control. The tricky part is, okay, you've already lined up Munguia to be, in many ways, Canelo's heir apparent. As far as like the top Mexican draw in that middleweight division class that's affiliated with Golden Boy. So that's something that's going to be very, very difficult to maneuver around because there really isn't a lot. Yeah, he can't challenge Boo Boo, and it probably a Boo Boo a fight that Boo Boo would probably like to make because he would like to challenge himself. But there's not a lot of fights out there, and fights that you can say Munguia has a better chance of winning than losing. With Andrade, based on skill, there's a lot of the defense that Munguia still finds wanting in the way that I would say not to put him against Boo Boo at the moment. Now, another possibility would be Danny Jacobs, but it's another situation with Andrade. Skills wise, I would not put him against Danny Jacobs. But it may be something that they may have to do if you want to focus and build on 160. That's going to be an interesting dynamic that people need to focus on when it comes to this situation, when it comes to Munguia, because nobody really knows how it's really going to shape up. Because he could have a fight 160, he may take a loss and decide to risk it and pull a Canelo, like we mentioned, we're going to do the 155-pound stuff. It's a very tough needle to thread, but it's a needle that has to be done. I think Mike is still with us.
Yeah, you make some points, Daniel. You do. You make some valid points. But let me ask you this, because, like you said, Boo Boo Andrade would definitely take that fight. I remember Boo Boo Andrade even saying that at a press conference. He even said that, he said, "If you bring Jaime Munguia up here, I'll take care of that." Right? But how much credit would Boo Boo get for being Munguia? Because we already know from a skill standpoint, he's better than Jaime Munguia. So, do you take the chance on letting him fight Boo Boo Andrade, or do you try to see a couple showcase fights and then try to save that scalp for Canelo?
Well, okay, if I'm Zanfer's team, that's the people you need to cater to at this stage. I would probably take the fight with Andrade because,
but the Canelo gets you more money.
It does get you more money, but here's the tricky part, and this is something that we know is going to play out when it comes to the Lomachenko situation. Let's say you go fight Boo Boo, and let's say you actually beat Boo Boo. Now you have a real bargaining chip. You have a belt. It can't just be now simply, oh, we just want you to fight Canelo and this is the way it's going to be. No, you have a belt. You have a commodity that is very valuable. A belt that he himself has not held.
Yeah, Robert Alcazar was the guy I was thinking of. My apologies, guys. I was having some technical issues going through Storm right now. But listen, I'm with Bo on this one. From what little I've seen of Ollotey, look, I'm not impressed. To be honest with you, Munguia should win. The question for me is what level we will see from Munguia with Morales is in his corner, and where does he go from here? Based on what I've seen the last two fights, particularly the fight against Hogan, he's in a catchy situation because Canelo will wipe the floor with him. Andrade will wipe the floor with him. I don't think he would beat a Charlo with 160 pounds, but there are fights for him at 154 pounds, but I don't think he can make the weight too much longer. So the question for me is, fellas, let's assume he wins. Where does he go?
And that's that. You talking about Jaime Munguia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's what they're gonna have to come up with, and that's why I agree with you. Where do you go with him? Because I don't think a new trainer, the deficiencies that Jaime Munguia have, that's not something you're gonna fix with a new trainer in one training camp. That takes over a period of time. Okay, so you have that. In his heart, Jaime Munguia is the quintessential Mexican fighter. Okay, he's blood and guts, man. So it's gonna be hard to change a guy who's been fighting like that for so long. And in his mind, like the thing about a new trainer is you have to convince his mind that it's actually broken. You just been able to ride like it's kind of like riding on a tire that has a slow leak, right? But you still need to fix the fucking flat. You still need to fix the tire. Just because it has a slow leak and you can roll on it doesn't mean you don't fix the tire. And he has to convince Jaime Munguia that, listen, the way you fight, man, it's not, you have to fix that. And that's going to be tough for a new guy to come in because you're a world champion. It's hard to tell a guy like Jaime Munguia who has, like I said, he's the quintessential Mexican fighter. It's hard to convince him that you need to do this change because it's not right. And because in his mind, I'm a world champion. What are you talking about? That's that's something you can't fix in one training camp. You need time. So that's why I say him going to 160. The only logical thing to make for me is if you put him in there against Demetrius Andrade and he doesn't look good, he looks bad. Well, now he's devalued. Now, and I mean seriously, heavily devalued at 160. You have guys saying, well, he's not going to win a belt at 160 because you have Golovkin, Charlo, and all these guys holding belts. So he'll be devalued. That's why you got to put him in a showcase fight, maybe at 160, and hope Canelo takes him. That way you can kind of look to cash out because looking bad against Canelo, at least it's not going to hurt you. He's the best fighter in boxing, but then you also walk away with a bag. Looking bad against a Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, it hurts you only because of this standpoint is there's a lot of people, although we know how talented he is, there's still question marks about Andrade as to how good he is because he hasn't fought an A-level or top-level guy. And that's where he'll look bad. Like, man, I guess Boo Boo really is that dude because he made you look like a fool. Versus when you lose to the best in the world, like when Canelo lost to Floyd, and hell, even Sergey Kovalev losing to Andre Ward. Losing to the best doesn't devalue. Losing to a guy like Demetrius Andrade, it will only devalue him because a lot of people don't look at Boo Boo Andrade the same way we do.
Okay.
One last question here. Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, yeah, there's a factor that falls into it when it comes into new trainer. You're not gonna fix a lot of what he needs to be fixed. When you mentioned Miguel as a quintessential Mexican blood and guts fighter with Eric El Terrible Morales, my favorite fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to remember Eric Morales, the two trilogies that he had, first with Barrera and then with Pacquiao, those all were blood and guts fights. So that's going to be very tough to distinguish and to fix something when The trainer was basically you, just
true.
a lower weight class. The only thing you could work on is probably a little bit better combinations and slipping punches.
One last question here from folks in the chat. I want to thank those who joined us in the chat. Olaf, MC Royal, and I know I forgot to mention this during the show, but today was the kickoff press tour for Ruiz and Anthony Joshua rematch scheduled to take place December 7th. Olaf's question is, I want to hear your thoughts about the AJ versus Ruiz. He's an underdog.
Andy Ruiz, you say he's a 2-1 underdog?
Yeah.
Man. It just goes to prove that, for all the bloviating.
And Olaf also asked, what do you think of the, he also asked, what do you deem the angry AJ of AJ, his underhanded dismissive comments of Otto Wallin, Tyson Fury's upcoming opponent, his comments about Lennox Lewis. There seems to be kind of a different attitude post Ruiz fight that we've seen from AJ. Your reaction to all of that, what you've heard from Anthony Joshua over the last few months?
I'm not surprised. In fact, I would even venture off to tell everybody, well, shit, this is the real Anthony Joshua. And I'm just being honest. Like, this is the real Anthony Joshua. I remember when him and Dominic Brazzelli got into it, and he was like, hold the belts. And, Anthony, that's Anthony Joshua. So I'm never have a problem when current fighters, like when Deontay Wilder made statements about Tyson. I don't really, when current fighters say certain things, although like Lewis was being kind of constructive, but AJ is in a different mindset right now because he was on top of the world. He got knocked off by a guy that he should have clearly beat. And I don't care who you are, man, that messes with you. You got it's not a situation where, you got cheated on the scorecards or a guy caught you with a lucky punch. No, you got flat out got your ass whooped against a guy that you should have beat, right? And then the questions about his mental state come into questions. Hell, question about his heart. Like, dog, pressure bust the pipe. You fought in the US and you couldn't handle that pressure. So I'm not shocked that this is the path he takes. If you are a competitor and if you are someone who consider yourself to be the best or be a champion, this is the attitude you need to have. You have to have that fuck it, it's me against the world attitude, right? And so the more angry Anthony Joshua, and this is the thing, he got too relaxed around Andy Ruiz. He got too relaxed around Ruiz. He got too comfortable around Ruiz. I think this may help him in going into the fight because he's gonna look to make sure he prepares himself. Anthony Joshua knows what's at stake. He loses the second time. Okay. Dare I say he's done? A lot of people say he's not, but I just really feel like you lose a second time to Andy Ruiz, you're kind of done. As far as being in the championship picture, you're definitely pushed to the back as far as that's concerned, because Deontay Wilder's going to jump on Andy Ruiz right the fuck away. Hell, why not? Because you got Andy Ruiz is with Al Heyman. So Deontay Wilder's going to waste no time. He's going to offer him the world. He wants to fight him in Mexico. I'll fight him in Mexico. So I actually like this attitude. This tells me he's serious because I haven't liked what I've been seeing from Andy Ruiz, the partying, the videos, and all of that stuff. I haven't liked that. I want to see training more. So this just at least tells me he's serious. He knows what's at stake. He's taking it serious, and quite honestly, man, that's what a champion would do. I talk about Sugar Ray Leonard a lot, but that's what Sugar Ray Leonard did in the rematch with Berto Duran. He took it very fucking serious. It was no joke with him, and that's how you have to do as a champion.
GM Strong commented, prepared, more focused Joshua. I'll go to you, Daniel, your reaction to the kickoff presser in Saudi Arabia for Ruiz Joshua too.
I'm not really surprised by it. It's a typical press conference, and I'm not really surprised either that Ruiz is 2-1 underdog. People still find it pretty hard to believe that Ruiz pulled that off, but he did. The situation that's going to come by is how much of this, like, Bo is saying that this is the real Anthony Joshua. How much this to me is Anthony Joshua just putting up a front because he got too used to being a politician, and now he has to put up a front now that he knows that O is gone, he can't hide behind it. That's going to be the difficult thing to gauge into it. And while you may be serious, you may get more angry. You also can let your anger get the better of you when Anthony Joshua. Because let's say what happens in the rematch and Joshua tries to go out guns blazing, not got his defense, and boop, another Ruiz left hand. And if it lands in the same spot, Joshua's going to be in the very same position that he was in the first fight. The problem that's going to be, though, now is people are not going to look at the venue because, like I said, I'm still surprised they're still really going to do this in Saudi Arabia. That maybe the venue is seen as a crutch. Like Bo mentioned it, because some people may be coming at Joshua saying, okay, you made your debut in the U.S. and you essentially shit the bed. And so now to build your confidence back up, you have to go into a place where you know there's not going to be a lot of hardcore fans going into it. You know, for the most part, the people that are going to go there are just going to go there because they can literally afford to go there. Like I said, I brought this up. I'm going to bring it up again. I'm gauging this based on the shows that have come on in stadiums in Saudi Arabia lately, and those are WWE shows. And if you look at that, crowd, particularly ringside in the area, you don't see a lot of hardcore people. You pretty much see recliners, lounge chairs, like the rich among the rich in Saudi Arabia, just relaxing there and not really paying attention to what's going on. They're just there to be there. And that's going to be the environment that Anthony Joshua is going to go into, where, okay, you're not going to face a lot of pressure from your contingent. And the Ruiz is definitely not going to have any backup. So maybe this is a little bit of a crutch where he feels like, okay, I'm not going to have as much pressure from my fan base to come out. And I know Ruiz is not going to have his fan base, so it'll little be a bit more calm. But at the same time, like I do like Joshua coming in there and seeing it take more seriously, but he has to prove to me, at least, that this isn't just him doing more politicking and saying that you're angry, so coming into it just to placate to the crowd, just to placate an image that he has to portray. Because in this case, you have to sound angry because, like Bo mentioned, you lost to a person that people thought you were just going to walk through. People thought that you were just going to mount Ruiz's head on your wall like you did of the other people. And when the opposite happened, that messes you up.
One final question before we start to shut things down. This question is to you both from GM Strong in the Facebook chat, not the Facebook, but the YouTube chat. Excuse me. The question to you, Bo, is: will the WBO strip Ruiz if he doesn't face? It's mandatory, and Usyk.
Come on, after the Anthony Joshua fight.
Yeah.
Here, it's funny. I would like to say no, they wouldn't, but there is a good chance because Usyk is with Eddie Hearn. So there is a good chance Eddie Hearn could get up in the air. Now, if it was Bob Arams, I'd be like, yes, hell yeah, they're stripping the Bobs all up in the air, right? But because WBO is World Bob belt, the WBC is WPBC. But except when it comes to Canelo.
And then what's the WBA then? Since I wrote about that for Three Kings earlier.
We bitching all the time. That's what But I actually think they wouldn't, because here's the reality is at the end of the day, the WBO is more flexible than the IBF is where he's going to have his problem because of Kubrat Pulev. And IBF don't play. You got to fight your man, though. Otherwise, they strip you. So he'll have more of a problem from the IBF than the WBO, because the WBO, if he goes on to fight Deontay Wilder, they'll sign off on that, right? The IBF, on the other hand, they could be like, "No, we signed off on this rematch taking place." After the rematch, it was a known fact, motherfucker got to fight Armando, who is Kubrat Pulev. So that's where they'll have a problem. And Bob Arum would definitely push that one because he has Kubrat Pulev. So if he has a chance to get Kubrat Pulev a title, then in turn have Kubrat make, the smartest thing Bob Arum does is he's old school. He likes to prove my guy's is a legit champion. So he'll have Kubrat Pulev win the belt, then make a title defense to make him a legit champion. You're not a legit champion until you win the title. That's old school rules. Then he'll put Kubrat Pulev in there against Tyson Fury. And that Tyson Fury have a belt. And if Wilder fights the winner and whoever wins between that, they got to see Bob. So I think it's more of a thing with an IBF than with the WBO, because the WBO is more willing to sign off on him versus Deontay Wilder because of the money factor than they would Usyk.
Punch for Pound, he had a comment in the YouTube chat. He says, going back to our discussion earlier about the Campbell fight with Loma and Tank, he says that Tank versus Luke Campbell is a must-see. He says that he got Campbell, but he will have to show grit like he showed against Loma. Probably not as much, though, but still a good amount.
I'd rather see Tank versus Devin Haney. Because him and Devin Haney got beef.
Well,
I'd definitely rather see that.
Yeah, but that would be an interesting fight if you're going to have Luke Campbell versus Tank Davis. Mainly for the reason of the fact that how Campbell got hurt. Remember, Campbell didn't get hurt mainly by headshots. He got hurt by body blows. And I'll give credit to Tank. He does still focus to the body when he needs to. So that'll be an interesting situation where Luke Campbell, if you're facing a body puncher, but a body puncher that doesn't have the other variants of skills as Loma has when it comes to Tank. So that would be an interesting fight. Obviously, though, like if we're talking personal beef, I would have loved to see Tank with Devin Haney. I still want to see Tank versus Farmer. But like I said, we all know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, and it looks like Tevin is going to fight Jojo Diaz, another fight that's being created basically due to social media beef. What is wrong with these fighters today? Instead of fighting the top fighters around, they want to fight guys based off of arguments on social media. That's just so dumb, so 2019. It annoys me. But anyway, I think we're going to start to shut the show down on that note. Want to thank everybody in the live YouTube chat, GM Strong, Punch for Pound, Olaf. If you like what you've heard, please make sure to hit that like button and also make sure to hit that subscribe button. And as I said earlier, we do have a donate button. Let donation be your best nation. Be the best nation. PayPal, Cash Me. Just check out the Pound for Pound Boxing Report blog page and got all the information on how you can donate. I don't care if it's $1, $2, $5, whatever you can spare. I want to thank Gail for joining us earlier this evening. If you want to talk the sweet science, if you want to talk small business with her, you can check her out on Twitter at PRPro San Diego. That's at PRPro San Diego on Twitter. Going to you, Daniel, for those who want to talk the sweet science, with those who want to heat, let the folks know where they can find you.
All right, folks. You can find me on Twitter, Rockets99. I'll try to schedule, like I said, a return podcast for Boxing News later on this week, because we actually take some time off because we got insanely busy. And definitely we'll preview a lot of some of these fights coming up. And especially, like I said, if you have seen my Twitter feed for a while, I'm trying to help out a friend in need. If you can, please help out. And like I said, blessings to all.
And last but certainly not least, both from Truth and Fact Sports and Three Kings Boxing, and hopefully, fingers crossed, trying to plan to do some discussion, some college football talk here on YouTube. Both from Truth and Fact Sports, Three Kings Boxing. Let the folks know where they can find you if they want to talk to Sweet Science.
Man, you can find me on Three Kings Boxing. Me and my man Prodigy, we're going to try to bring back the podcast. And if I'm not there,
are you there, Bo?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Good.
Daniel, can you hear me?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you at first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I heard you though.
Okay, yeah. If I'm not on Three Kings Boxing, of course you can find me on Pound for Pound. This is actually, my home away from home. You guys, I started here. This is where I started. I miss talking to Jacob. Much prayers and blessings and as many prayers I can to Gus at this time of what he's going through right now. I want to say that, but I definitely miss talking to Jacob. I miss Gail, the feisty little redhead, Chavez Jr.'s girlfriend. So I'm glad to be here, man. And I'm definitely going to try to make more appearances. And then of course, Daniel and I keep forgetting their names. For Boxing News, Daniel and them over there for Boxing News.
I gotta forget Joe Francis.
Joe and Fran, that's it. Joe and Francis. Hey man, you know what? It was crazy. I put a picture up on Facebook. I was knocked out sleep. My daughter comes down, 12:01. She said, "Happy birthday." I'm like, "It's my birthday?" Yeah. And I said, "But my birthday's not till September." She said, "Yes." I said, "The 1st." She said, "Yes. Today is that day, Dad." I'm like, "Oh." I'll be forgetting stuff. And then, of course, when I asked her for sugar, she gave me sugar and she smashed the cake in my face she baked for me.
See, you should have kept that story to yourself, sir.
She did. I said, "Well, get your daddy sugar." And she said, "No problem." And she smashed the cake in my face. But yeah, I listen, man. I just want to say that, when we do this because we definitely love the sport. There's no money in this. We get together, we talk, and we do these shows. We come on and we give our time because we really love the sport. There's no money in this. There's no agenda here. This is everybody talking, giving you pure, good boxing talk and knowledge. And if you listen and paying attention, I recognize some of the names. GM Strong, man, keep following Mike. Definitely follow Daniel. And of course, Three Kings Boxing, man.
And shout out to GM Strong because I see him. For those who don't know, I am a writer for Three Kings Boxing as well as doing this pound for pound boxing report thing. And I see him pretty regularly in the Three Kings Boxing chat. So I want to give a shout out to him. He's a committed hardcore fan. He follows. If you have a good YouTube channel and whatnot, you'll be sure to find him. He's a true fan. If you want to talk the sweet science, if you want to talk music or fitness with me, you know what it is on Twitter, Brother JR, at Brother JR76 on Twitter. As I said to begin the show, all information regarding Pound for Pound Box Report, you can find it on the blog page. Links to where to find us on social media. Links where to find us on all platforms that carry RSS feeds. Links to the donation links and links to my fitness page. I am a online coach for beachbody.com. Check the right hand portion of the Pound for Pound Boxing Report blog page. You can find links to my online coaching page. As I said at the start of the show, I'm going to take next week off. I'm finally taking some time out for myself with vacation. So that's what I'll be doing. I'm taking some vacation time. We will be back in 2 weeks to recap the bouts that's going to happen on the 14th. Boxing is pretty crappy this weekend. There's nothing happening. So we preview a week ahead. And so when we come back, we'll be fresh and we'll be all caught up. So next show in 2 weeks, we will do a recap of the fights that's happening on the 14th and previews any fights that's happening on the weekend of the 21st. So again, I want to thank everybody who joined us in the live YouTube chat, GM Strong, Sean, Olaf. Want to thank Gail for joining us, Punch for Pound as well. Want to thank Gail for joining us in the show earlier. For Daniel of the Inscriber, for Bo of Truth and Facts About Sports, as well as Three Kings Boxing. This has been episode 265 of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. I'm your host, Michael. We will see you in 2 weeks. Everyone have a good evening. Good night.
Wake me up when September ends.